Beer, wine, and spirits maker Constellation Brands reported mixed earnings for the fourth quarter, topping expectations on the bottom line, but missing on revenue. Sales were down 5% year over year. Joining us now to discuss, CEO of Constellation Brands, Bill Newlands. Bill, it's always a pleasure to get some time with you. Thanks for joining us this morning. I know that the different types of alcohol got a lot of attention, and beer in particular got a lot of attention, with you guys discussing sort of the outlook this year, sort of some of the California weather effects that have caused some issues. But it sounds like you're fairly optimistic that you think beer demand in particular is going to rebound throughout the year. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Sure, we are, Julie. And admittedly, California has been a bit challenging. You know, they've had rain, snow, flooding, etc. But on the other hand, we see markets like Texas and Florida and New York that are up double digits in the first month of our new fiscal year. So we're very optimistic that it's going to be a very solid year. And we all recognize one of these days it will stop raining in California and they'll get back to normal weather.
Bill, Brian here. Good to see you as always. In terms of inflation, was the quarter you just reported the highest inflation that investors are likely to see over the next couple quarters?
Certainly it's moderated some, Brian, but it's certainly not back to where it was before the inflationary trend started. That's certainly going to be the one big watch out is what does inflation do over time and what does it do to particular commodities? You know, we obviously hedge where we can and again, we've factored all of this into what our expectations are in our guidance, but certainly inflation is one of those characteristics that's been a bit stubborn.
And so when you think about some of the different areas that the business operates right now, Bill, of course, across beer, across even some of the seltzer products or even canned cocktails, what is going to be that next leg of growth from your perspective for the company that you're ready to go all in on?
We got a couple of things we're very excited about this year. We're introducing the gold standard of light beer called Modelo Oro this year. It was just introduced starting last month, and we're very excited about where that could go. So that's one. We're doing Corona non-alcoholic. You know, the whole betterment trend is one that we're certainly seeing across our consumers, and we see it across many other consumer product sectors as well. So we see those as being real opportunities. And then you add in the tremendous growth that we've had in our Chelada business, where a number of our new product areas and our new formats there have been very successful. We think there's many, many things that are new offerings for the consumer that are going to be very positive in our overall mix this year.
Bill, I was thinking back to our prior chats, and we never really seem to talk a lot about the wine business. Now, you called out weakness in some more mainstream brands. What do you think that is driving? What's driving that right now?
A lot of challenge in the mainstream segment. And we've obviously brought down our exposure to the mainstream segment. It used to be 60% of our business. With some of the sales that we've made, it's down to 40%. And the higher end of the business is growing tremendously. But certainly the mainstream segment has been challenged. And we do still have exposure to that. But outside of that, when you think about The Prisoner and Meiomi and Kim Crawford, our craft spirits business, things like High West, are all doing extremely well. But certainly the mainstream segment has been challenged and probably will continue to be for a bit of time.
Bill, what do you think the drink of the summer is going to be? I know it's a little bit early and, it's kind of a fun question, but at the same time, you guys obviously have to plan around it, inventory around it with the sort of rise and then waning to some extent of hard seltzer. I imagine that's a pretty important question for you guys for this summer.
It is, but one of the things, Julia, that you often see in the summer is that refreshment comes to the fore. And when you think about beer and refreshment are synonymous, and there's no more refreshing beer than Corona. And therefore, we think that's going to continue to be a very strong piece of what we see this summer. Consumers are always looking for how they have experiences with refreshing beverages. And we think we're well positioned there. Whether someone wants Corona Extra or Modelo Especial or Premier, which again goes after a bit of that low-cal, low-carb betterment trend. So we think we're pretty well positioned for summer, and we're looking forward to it. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, Bill, since we last spoke, we saw Pernod, really a player in the spirits business, make a big play for Screwball peanut butter whiskey. That brand has been hot. I've heard some reports it has slowed down, but nonetheless, Are you in the market for a brand like that? Do you want to go out there and start using these opportunities to buy brands like that?
Well, if those opportunities present themselves, Brian, we always look at them. One of the things we're excited about is some of the growth in High West, as an example. Many times you see certain individual brands that I would say are a shade more faddish and bring unique flavor characteristics to the table. But people often return to those mainstream bourbon, rye blends of those, much like we have with High West. And certainly we expect that a lot of our attention is going to be to continue to maximize that. We're also seeing ready-to-drink cocktails. We've done ready-to-drink under our Mi Campo tequila business, and as well as High West. And both of those create a bit of convenience, which is another thing that consumers are looking for as well.
Yeah, looking to get saucy too, Bill. Let's be real. At the end of the day, when you think about the consumer taste profile right now and any moderation that would adjust the strategy over at Constellation Brands, what are you seeing among consumers right now, given that you have more of a pulse on them through that direct-to-consumer omni-channel approach that you've been able to institute as well?
You bet. The consumer is continuing to buy more direct than they had prior to the pandemic. Our category, unfortunately, had always been a bit behind in that area. And I think the one benefit of the pandemic was it opened people's eyes that you can, in fact, order many of your favorite alcohol beverages direct, or you buy it through three-tier e-commerce, whether it be click and collect or things of that nature. We were very fortunate that we had invested in those sectors ahead of the pandemic, and it really put us in position to be well ahead of what the competition was doing when the consumer began to adjust. But what you're seeing is the consumer doing what they do in many other consumer sectors from which they buy. And I think that speaks very well to us, given the upfront investment we made against those areas.
All right, Bill, we got to let you go. Is there a go-to drink that you're teeing up for the summer?
I'm still a huge fan of Negra Modelo, always top of my list. But I got to say, Modelo Oro is pretty damn good. So I'd encourage you to try some.
All right. We're going to put that on the can and T-shirts. We know you will as well. Constellation Brands CEO Bill Newlands and Yahoo Finance's own executive editor Brian Sozzi. Thanks so much.